So Senator Axios has a piece this morning that says Chuck Schumer was talking to the moderate Democrats, pulled them privately aside and said, I know you want to open up the government after 2 weeks, but don't do that. Don't cave to the Republicans. Did he ever talk to you? He knew how you were going to vote. Did he ever talk to you about it?
Absolutely no. I was not in a conversation, or I never got any outreach. Everyone understood. I really kind of led the charge back in March. And then I said, I know we'll be back in September. And I said, I know where my vote will be then, too. It's always a hard yes to keep our government open. I mean, that's my principle, because it's wrong to shut our government down. And now we knew that we would put those 42 million Americans for SNAP and paying our military and, you know, the Capitol Police. I mean, people have went 5 weeks without being paid. I mean, that's a violation of my core values, and I think that it's our party's as well.
So, Senator, you came in as somewhat an outsider. And by the way, I was wrong, totally wrong about you. I thought you were going to be a radical, and you've been totally different than that. Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows. And I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here. And if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party. So for me, it's like these are pretty reasonable. I mean, my party's always been opposing shutting our government down. I'm not sure why it's controversial now to devote these things. And I refuse to put all these people in the middle of this political kinds of brinkmanship.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the fallout from the government shutdown. Pure entertainment when it comes to how Democrats are currently reacting, because there's a full-blown revolt against Chuck Schumer.
Chuck Schumer stabbed the entire country in the fucking back. Oh my God, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. I'm gonna stroke out. I'm gonna stroke out on fucking air. This was the time to get them on the record, because now is when you have all the fucking leverage. And guess what? You don't need to guess what their position is on fucking Obamacare. Didn't they try to repeal it 70 goddamn times? More than that? In the big bullshit bill that they just passed, they just cut off the Obamacare subsidies. And now you're like, well, we're going to get them on the record. They're already on the record. And this was the only time you had leverage to actually get them to fucking cave. Jesus Christ. Do we need to explain the most basic shit to these fucking idiots? You go into the negotiation and you say, we need 10 years of full Obamacare subsidies or none of us are voting for it. And then you fucking stand 10 toes down, puff your chest out, stand on business on that position, and you fucking say, I'm not accepting your phone calls until you agree to that fucking condition. And if you don't, blow me. Suck my nuts from the back. I'm gonna go play golf. As fucking Trump is doing the same goddamn thing. Because he's the one who's actually at fault for this. So when you guys want to fucking man up and wise up, then you call me, but you gotta accept that condition. And then eventually, what happens? Eventually, they come to you and they say, well, we're not willing to do that, but we'll give you 3 years on the fucking Obamacare subsidies extend. That's what happens. But if you don't know how to negotiate, if you don't know how to play politics, if you don't know how to play hardball, go pick a different field. What are you doing in this field?
Nobody has confidence in Chuck Schumer as the leader of the Democrat Party. There are some reports that say that he was involved in allowing the moderate Democrat senators. I'm not sure if there's actually such thing as a moderate Democrat anymore, right? But this is what we're going to call them, okay? Allowing those Democrats to vote to open up the government. Or was he not involved at all? Did they go behind his back? Okay, did they disobey him? Did they not talk to him? Like, we really don't know, okay? But what we do know is that nobody likes Chuck Schumer at this point, that his numbers are in the tank.
How are Democrats feeling overall about Schumer? We've seen a lot of comments from some House Democrats, but what about overall? What
about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer, look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is, in fact, Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least.
Do you have a sense of why?
Why? Why? It's because Democrats, they want a fighter. They want a fighter. That's why. Take a look here. Democrats, Dems in Congress do too little to oppose Trump. During the first term, it was just 46% in 2017. That's the percentage of Democrats who said that the Dems in Congress are doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at where we are now, 69%. That is an increase of, get this, 23 points. The super duper majority of Democrats believe that the Democrats in Congress are not doing enough to oppose Donald Trump. And that, of course, is a big, huge criticism of Chuck Schumer. And that is why he is underwater.
I knew you were going to do the dip. All right.
I always do the dip. I need my exercise in the morning.
There has been talks of a challenge to Schumer. What are you saying on that front? Who looks like they're in place to do it?
Okay, so you see this opening slide here, and you see, of course, that Chuck Schumer is underwater with Democrats nationally. But, of course, the ultimate way to get Chuck Schumer out of office is to beat him in New York State. So how do New York State Democrats feel about Chuck Schumer? And take a look here. The net favorable among New York Democrats. Chuck Schumer is above water with the Democrats in his home state, but just by 16 points. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him, which would be something that would just blow my mind, even just a few years ago, given that Chuck Schumer, of course, is a New York born bred type of guy.
Yeah, those are incredible.
Look at that, 30 points ahead. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, the reality for Chucky Schumer is that AOC is probably going to primary him in 2028, and he's certainly going to lose, okay? He's going to lose, and that's the reality of Democrats, that the freaks and lunatics are going to take over. And John Fetterman knows this. He's the only Democrat that is brave enough, that has enough stones, enough backbone to speak out about the extremist takeover of Democrat Party, right? What is currently happening to their party, which is that socialists are taking over. Hakeem Jeffries is going to get primary. Chuck Schumer is going to get primary. All of these Democrats that stand up to socialists, right, that do not get on board with the far left socialist agenda, they're going to get primary. Now, some will be successful, some won't be successful. Like, I don't think that Democrats are going to be able to get rid of John Fetterman, because John Fetterman represents a swing state, Pennsylvania. He's very popular in his state, right, despite the backlash from the far left. So they're not going to be able to get rid of the guy. And I will say, I might not agree with John Fetterman on everything, right? But I will say I definitely respect the fact that he is standing up to the woke extremists within the Democrat Party. And he's going to continue to stand his ground on The View, as Sunny Hostin is going to lose her mind. She's going to absolutely go off. She's going to tee off on John Fetterman for betraying the Democrats and siding with Republicans during this government shutdown battle. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
And can I just follow up? Is Leader Schumer, in your mind, the right leader for this moment for Democrats?
I'm saying that it's like, that's not really my concern right now. It's not like a leadership situation. It is, we are living in the backlash of the election. It's been effectively a year now. America decided to put us in the minority. And now in terms of leadership right now, what defines leadership for me? I think that's order and logic and describing people exactly where we're at. And now we were all energized by the election just last week. And now for me, I think it's like, hey, let's take the win on that. And now we know there's a lot of backlash to this kinds of chaos. And now voters are going to respond to more order and the more kinds of not violating our core values to plunge our country into chaos for 42 million Americans. Food security, that's really parts of the essence of kind of people that I fight for. Now we have to be able to disagree on these things. And if you can't, and now as a committed Democrat that vote 90% of the Democratic line, I mean, now like that might be a bigger problem with our party in some way, that a committed Democrat from the most difficult and purple state in the country says, hey, I'm trying to call balls and strikes in the middle of this chaos.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders said the vote was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are
Wow. Hey, somebody check in on the View. It seems like they're having a hard time with the fact that people are going to get their food stamps, that government workers are going to be paid, that the government is going to get back to business, right? They seem to be very, very, very upset that they can no longer hold the country hostage. They can, again, take away people's benefits, their paychecks, not pay the military, shut down the country in order to stick it to Trump, right? It seems like Trump arrangement is much more important to them than the lives of the people that they claim they care about so much. But again, you know, Sunny, right? She's a multimillionaire. She ain't got to worry about it, right? She's going to be fine regardless.
Well, first of all, you know, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now, if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations, and a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states and those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now, for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue this shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos. Those workers have to borrow more than $500 million, you know, from their credit union just to pay their bills now. So for me, we're in the middle of this.
Senator, I got to ask you to hold up a second because we have to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, see that, you heard that, okay? You have Sunny Hostin losing her mind on John Fetterman, okay? Getting mad at him because he did the right thing, because he wanted his constituents to eat. He wanted them to get paid. He didn't want to hold the country hostage because of Trump derangement, okay? In order to virtue signal to the far left, who currently is upset with John Fetterman for doing this, okay? And they're boohoo, whining, crying, plotting to primary John Fetterman to get rid of him.
Let's talk about John Fetterman, the senator that sold himself to Pennsylvanians as a progressive, a blue-collar Pittsburgh man, anti-establishment, and definitely anti-GOP. But recent behavior by the senator tells a very different story. And according to a recent poll, swing voters that supported Donald Trump in the last election view Fetterman very favorably. He voted with Republicans during the government shutdown, saying it was country over party. And recently, he's aligned himself with Republican Senator from Pennsylvania, Dave McCormick. Internal polling of Democrats show he is losing favor with his base very quickly. Behind the scenes, Democrats are talking about who will run against Fetterman in 2028. The top candidates are Chris Deluzio, Connor Lamb, and Brendan Boyle. Pittsburgh area Democrats, what do you think? Would you vote for Fetterman again in 2028?
John Fetterman, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And you have turned out to be nothing but an utter freaking disappointment. We had your back when they said that you had lost your mind and you were too slow and you couldn't do things because you were still suffering from the effects of your stroke. But yet, you ran as a Democrat and you get up there and spew nothing but Republican talking points. every time. We had your back. Now, I'm not saying that you have to vote with everything that every Democrat does, but to actually get up there and open your mouth and say that Democrats own this shutdown when Democrats are not signing on the bills to make sure that people can afford health insurance, because I know that you're still suffering with your own health issues, but yet we are paying for your health insurance with our tax dollars. But you don't want Americans to be able to afford their own? John, you will serve one term, because I can guarantee you they're gonna run somebody else against your turncoat ass.
This message is for Senator John Fetterman from one of his constituents. Now, John, you may not remember me. I'm a doctor. I'm one of many doctors who campaigned for you when you were running for the United States Senate. And we did that because we knew you were a much better option than Dr. Oz. But we didn't just campaign for you. We supported you during your most vulnerable time in your life, after you had a stroke. And we stuck up for you because we knew that that stroke was not going to define you. And when you went to rehab for depression, we knew that was also not going to define you. Now, you may not be affected by what the Republican politicians want to do to healthcare in this country, but it is going to affect millions of people, my patients, and the patients of doctors who stood up for you and supported you during your campaign and during your own health issues. Please do not capitulate to Republican politicians. You have the power to hold them to task. I understand. Republican politicians have put you in a terrible position. Let people starve or take away their health care. But Republicans put you in that position.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, all kinds of backlash for John Fetterman, right? Who simply is just looking out for his constituents. He's not playing the political games. And it's just funny to me how these progressives are using his stroke against him. Well, we supported you while you had a stroke, right? When you can barely speak coherently. Which, again, tells you everything you need to know about these leftists, right? They literally supported a guy that they knew was mentally struggling because they hate Trump, right? I mean, it's really a damn shame. But now they're trying to use that against him, right? They're trying to use that against him to guilt him into not doing the best thing for his constituents and for the country. So, shout out to John Fetterman. The more that he recovers from his stroke, the more sane he becomes, okay? He's a different person than he was at the beginning of his tenure as senator, because I remember when he was a senator, he was one of these people that was more Trump deranged, right? He was definitely more of the leftist type of guy, right? He was not well liked, right, by people like myself. Now, I like him now, but I still understand that in his heart, he's still basically a leftist, right? In my opinion. I mean, if you go policy by policy, I guarantee you, he still aligns with the left quite a bit. And that's the sad part about this, is that, you know, he's still a Democrat, right? He's a Democrat, but because he's not one of these Democrats that, you know, is extreme, right, on these issues, that hates Trump no matter what, he's actually looking out for Trump supporters in his state, or he feels as if that's what he's doing, right? He's making an effort to care about their interests and everybody else's interests as well, too. Yeah, this is why Democrats hate him, right? And they want to primary the guy, even though he votes with the party, 90% of the time? So it really shows you the current state of our politics. But I did find John Fetterman standing his ground against Sunny Hostin admirable, because, you know, a lot of Democrats would have caved to her little rant, right? All of the backlash that they're getting, and he's not caving, right? He is standing strong, and he's warning the Democrats about the direction they're going in, that, hey, you're going in a far left direction that's not going to win in the states that you need to win in, okay, which are swing states. These are moderate states. And if you start running these far left lunatics in moderate states, you're probably not going to win, right? You're probably going to lose, which, again, you know, hey, that's fine by me. If that's what Democrats want to do, it's just fascinating to see John Fetterman warn them about what's happening, and Democrats are ignoring it, okay? They're going full steam in the direction of far left socialism, and I just don't know if that's going to work out in general elections in the states that actually matter. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.